Translation. O Lord, your tongue is a plate of sacrifice. Your nostrils is another plate of sacrifice. In your belly is the eating plate of sacrifice, and another plate of sacrifice is the holes of your ears. In your mouth is the Brahma plate of sacrifice. Your throat is the plate of sacrifice known as Soma, and whatever you chew is known as Agnihotra. Purport. The Vedavadis say that there is nothing more than the Vedas, and the performances of sacrifice mentioned in the Vedas. They have recently made a rule in their group to formally observe daily sacrifice. They simply ignite a small fire and offer something whimsically, but they do not strictly follow the sacrificial rules and regulations mentioned in the Vedas. It is understood that by regulation there are different plates of sacrifice required, such as Sak, Suva, Barhis, Chatur, Hotra, Ida, Chamasa, Prashitra, Graha and Agnihotra. One cannot achieve the results of sacrifice unless one observes the strict regulations. In this age, there is practically no facility for performing sacrifices in strict discipline. Therefore, in this age of Kali, there is a stricture regarding such sacrifices. It is explicitly directed that one should perform Sankirtan Yagya and nothing more. The incarnation of the Supreme Lord is Yagyeshvara, and unless one has respect for the incarnation of the Lord, he cannot perfectly perform sacrifice. In other words, taking shelter of the Lord and rendering service unto Him is the factual performance of all sacrifices, as explained herein. Different plates of sacrifice correspond to the different parts of the body of the Lord's incarnation. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto, it is explicitly directed that one should perform Sankirtan Yagya to please the Lord's incarnation as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This should be rigidly followed in order to achieve the result of Yagya performance. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanasalakaya Chakshumilitamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangung Langayati Girim Yat Kripatamahang Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swavanantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, Hare Krishna. Yes, this is a quite technical verse in one sense, and Srila Prabhupada turns it toward the practical for us. There are 4 ages in the universe, especially for our world in which we live. There are 4 world ages, and each of this age has a process how to achieve the Supreme. Because as human beings, the prime purpose is to reach the Supreme, to become self-realized. This is actually the purpose of human life, according to Vedic scriptures. Everything has a purpose, right? And human life's purpose, like what the human form of life is meant for, is to become self-realized, to understand who we are, and that we understand the truth, and that we become God-conscious. And in the end, the highest of all that, to have love of Godhead, to have love of God, love for God. So this is the real purpose, which is, of course, nowadays, when we look out in the world, not really a topic, isn't it? It's not really a topic. When you read the newspapers or go online or go wherever you go, where is this discussed, or where is this really important, right? It's very rare, actually, in this age. And according to the Vedic scriptures, this is no wonder. Sometimes you might wonder, how is it? Why is the world in such an, ignoring this very important and most important topic of knowledge? Why are they ignoring it? Yeah, because it's an age of ignorance. It's called Kali Yuga. There's no accident. It has to be like that. It is like that. So in the other ages, this is more understood by the common man, even by the common man. Humans were more aware of their purpose. And there were always processes how to reach this goal. Yeah? And then the society was organized to help each other to reach this goal. This is called yagya, or this is called the Yuga Dharma. Yuga means like the age, and Dharma means the process. The process for the age, how to reach the Supreme, which includes to get out of the circle of birth and death. This was understood, that there's a reincarnation. Now this is kind of a belief. Do you believe in reincarnation or not? But at that time everyone understood, of course there's reincarnation. Of course I'm not the body, I'm the soul. Of course I will live on after this life. And whatever I did now, it will come back to me, so to say, in another body, in another life, a continuation of existence. Everyone understood that. It's interesting that the ancient cultures all had this understanding, more or less. Reincarnation is not just the Indian or Buddhist thing. Everyone understood it. The Celtics, the Egyptians, all of them understood it. But then came the... Huh?
Even Christians.
Yeah, even in Christianity there are indications for that, right? But in Kali Yuga everything gets messed up, and you know. So anyway, everyone understood that, and there was a process in which was practiced individually, but also collectively. And who made sure that collectively it will work out? It was the monarch, or the leader of men, or the king. There was a king who was very wise, like Plato says, the philosopher king, in his treatise, The State. He explains how a state should work, and he says on top there should be a king, but not just any guy, but a philosopher king, a very wise man. And this same principle we find in Vedic scriptures. They speak of the Raja Rishi. It means like a saintly king. This is very important. The king has to be saintly. And it's interesting because nowadays we think of monarchy as something outdated and even something bad, right? This is how we get educated. There were the kings in ancient times, and they all mistreated the people and misused their power. And who is the best example I learned in school? Ludwig XIV. He's like the prime example of how bad kings are, right? Because he misused all his power and wealth just for his sense gratification, called him the Sun King, and he lived in Versailles and in great opulence, and people were starving. Or the other French queen, Marie Antoinette, who famously said, "Why are they not eating cake if they have no bread?" Right? And then they beheaded her, and the French started getting rid of all the monarchs. So it's something really bad. And yeah, but actually, I recently saw a small interview because I heard that Prabhupada met a queen. When Prabhupada, our founder of this movement, Srila Prabhupada, he was in Jaipur. And Jaipur is an ancient kingdom, actually. Jaipur. Pur means city, and Jai means victory, the city of victory. And even in Muslim time, when the Muslims were ruling North India and were quite oppressive with the so-called Hindus, Jaipur was, defending its tradition. So the deities which were worshipped in Vrindavan, they had to flee. They were brought to Jaipur and to surrounding areas because there was a strong king, and the Muslims couldn't do anything there because the Muslims destroyed the deities in Vrindavan. Right? They had no religious, tolerance. Like nowadays, everyone should be very tolerant, and especially also we should have religious tolerance, right? They were not so tolerant. They went there, destroyed deities, killed brahmanas, destroyed temples. So anyway, in Jaipur they couldn't do anything. So it's a very special place, and Srila Prabhupada in 1971, I think it was 1 or 2, he was visiting Jaipur, and the whole city gave him a huge reception. They rolled out a red carpet for him in the whole place, actually. The whole town was, and it's very nicely explained. And anyway, he met the queen, Gayatri Devi was her name. She was at that time more than 50 years old. She was born in 1919, because I looked it then up when I heard about that. And she was voted as one of the 10 most beautiful ladies in the world by Vogue magazine when she was younger. So she was very aristocratic, very cultured, had a very nice background of very religious people. And she was the third wife of the king. Because at that time it was still common that a king could have more wives. So anyway, and then there was an interview. And because I wanted to, she also wrote a book. She went into politics later on, so she was a smart lady. And then she was asked, what do you think about the modern state of affairs? What do you think about modern India? And with how it's ruled and the government and all that. And she said, I don't like it. I don't like it. And what she said that? She said, my brother, he was a king. My husband was a king. And whenever people had a problem, they could go to the king. And he listened to them and tried to help them or help them. And the people loved their king because he was there for them. Nowadays, who is there for the people? There's a corrupt state. This so-called democracy, right? The power of the people, it's called, right? Democratie. The power of the demos, the public, the people. It's just, Prabhupada called it demon crazy. Demon crazy. And it's true. Because the people have no power. They have no power. It's all corrupted. And she was quite, sad about it, actually. Not just angry. Of course, people can get angry also with it, eat the rich, down with the government, whatever, can get angry. But it's also sad because this is not natural and people are suffering. So in ancient times, the king's prime duty was to make sure that Dharma was kept, and especially the Yuga Dharma, so that everyone can become happy, that everyone becomes self-realized and God-conscious, and in the end get out of this circle of birth and death. There's even a statement in this book, in the Bhagavatam, which says, you should not become a father or a mother. You should not become a teacher. You should not become a king if you cannot bring your dependents out of this circle of birth and death. Quite interesting, right? So you should not become a person of authority if you cannot enlighten those who depend on you or listen to you. This is the duty of authority. So the authority at ancient time made sure that the Dharma and the Yuga Dharma was kept, that everyone becomes spiritual. So, and there was a Yuga Dharma for each and every one of these ages. And what we hear here is actually the process for the second age, where the people were more sophisticated and more rich and more, And so this process was very complicated actually, as we hear here, right? Many technical terms of some plates and some, some yagya and sacrifice, and it includes, it's a fire sacrifices, and you need mantras and learned person and riches and ghee and gold, and it's very complicated. It's actually very complicated. So let's say like this. It's very complicated for us. Because at that time, people were more qualified, so they could do also a more complicated process. So that's the reason. So this is not the process how to become self-realized nowadays. And Prabhupada explains because nowadays the process is a different process. And it's called Sankirtan. Sankirtan, meaning the congregational chanting of God's names. That we come together and sing or speak. Kirtan means more or less singing, I think, God's names. And then Prabhupada says, this is the process and nothing else, and nothing more. One should perform Sankirtan Yagya and nothing more. This process is extremely powerful. And this is what we do, at least in our temple programs, right? We sing together Hare Krishna. And not just because of, because we like it or it sounds nice. No, it's the Yuga Dharma. it will bring us out of the circle of birth and death. It will bring us out of the material world directly in the spiritual world. And some people don't think like that or don't believe it because it's too simple for them. They think, how can it be? You just stand there and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's too simple. It cannot be. It's just some singing, some, I don't know what it is, right? If you want to become transcendental, you have to maybe meditate. Or have some, make some pranayama, or some mystical power, or some yagya, swaha, 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 and mantras, right? This might work also. It's not that this has no power, yes. But for most of people, this is ineffective because they cannot do it. These processes are powerful, yes, but they are very complicated. Who can meditate 5, 6, 7, 10 hours a day? Sometimes, but it's very rare. But everyone can Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay, some purity should be there. It should not be like a show, right? Or mid-level showy, but it should be done in nice consciousness. But in general, this is a very simple process. And why is it so simple? Because people in Kali Yuga are so unqualified. They need a simple and easy process. And Krishna is so merciful. He says, okay, in Kali Yuga, in this age, people are so unqualified, so fallen, so misguided, so short-lived, always disturbed. I give him a process which everyone can follow. I cannot make it more easy like that. I cannot make it more easy. Okay, actually Krishna makes it more easy. He says, okay, even if you can eat yourself in the spiritual world. He says, there's prasadam. I make it even more easy, not just Hare Krishna, yeah? Here, take prasadam and become a lover of God. Eat yourself out of the circle of birth and death. Yeah, it makes it very easy. Huh? And he makes it even more easy and says, okay, then, and if you regulate it, not too much, but in a regulated way, sleep, even the sleeping is spiritual. Like there's a spiritual place in Mayapur, and it said when you just sleep, this is dandavat. Dandavat meaning offering obeisances to the Lord when you lie flat on the floor. And so you lie on the floor, and Krishna says, in Mayapur, sleeping is dandavat. Count it. Count it as dandavat. So then Krishna says, I make it even more easy for you. Here's the Sangha of devotees. So many nice devotees. Yeah. So he gives so much help. And he cannot make it more easy. What can Krishna do? Say, what do you want to do, right? I cannot make it more easy. And still, people are not into it. Right? But I would say we shouldn't blame the people too much. We should blame ourselves that we are not able to communicate it in an appealing way that people say, wow, Hare Krishna, let's try that, sounds great. People nowadays, anyway, they jump on so many trends, so many weird trends they jump on and do. Nowadays everything is okay, kind of. Before there were maybe more like culture and tradition, and this is what we do and this is what we not do, right? Like in the hippie time, one of the revolutionary things hippies did, they grew their hair. This was like, how can you do that? And people were like, they had short hair, and after the World War, how they had, these Americans, how they had their hair, and maybe a little longer, and then there's Seitenscheitel. And the hippies said, no, we make revolution. Men especially, we grow the hair, long hair. This was sign of revolution. Nowadays, long hair, short hair, everything is okay, right? And then later on, maybe there was a time when having a bald head was revolutionary, right? Nowadays, it's not so, revolutionary if a Hare Krishna comes along has no hair. It's not, whoa, look at this guy, he has no hair. Everyone on the street looks at him, he has no hair. This is in to have, shave your head. So nowadays, and so many trends and so many things. So in that sense, people are open to anything. You can tell them anything. So we cannot say, oh, it's Kali Yuga and nobody's into it because they're so unreligious and this and that. Okay, we can think like that, but I think it will limit our eagerness for doing something for the world, because we say, it's anyway of no use. They won't get it anyways. They're Kali Yuga people. They have, practically speaking, no brain. A brain you get when you start chanting Hare Krishna. When you say Hare Krishna, suddenly a brain pops up in your head. So who is not Hare Krishna, he has practically no brain, so useless. Don't tell me anything. But interesting, before we were, not every one of us was a Hare Krishna. So where we got our brain from? How does it work? So maybe they have no brains. But we tell them about Hare Krishna and suddenly they have one. Well, of course, people have brains. Yeah? I just want to say, it's not like that we can say, oh, they are so unqualified and it's of no use. No, we have to find ways how to communicate this wonderful gift to them. Right? And this is one nice saying Prabhupada said, tax your brain. I don't know if this is like a typical Prabhupada saying or you say it in English, but tax your brain is like really think deeply how to distribute this knowledge. Yeah. So it's our duty. It's our duty. And this is part of the Sankirtan. So I want to speak maybe a couple of minutes more about this Sankirtan, because what does this word mean? Because this is the Yuga Dharma, right? We want to get out of the material world, we become spiritual, Krishna conscious, we want to have all that. How to do it? Sankirtan. This is what the Vedic scriptures say. Yagyai Sankirtana praya yachanti hi sumedasaha. Yeah? This is the Yuga Dharma. Krishna vanam tvisha Krishnam sango pankascha parshadam. Yagyai Sankirtana praya yachanti hi sumedasaha. This is the process for Kali Yuga. So, if someone understands it, yes, I want to understand that I'm a soul. I want to understand I'm eternal and conscious and full of bliss. I want to see the spiritual reality. I want to be enlightened. I want to understand. I want to see God. I want to love God. I want to see Krishna. I want to dance with Krishna. I want to, speak with Krishna. I want to play with Krishna. I want to eat something with Krishna. I want to see the spiritual world. You have to do Sankirtan. So we should be eager. Okay, what is Sankirtan? How does it work? So it's chanting together Hare Krishna. It's so easy. And the other thing is, Prabhupada expanded it and he said it's also to give it to others. Actually, these two aspects Sankirtan has. Because together chanting means you need someone who is there. When you're alone, you're not together. Sun, this syllable, sun means together. So, we need many, many participants in the Sankirtan. So the more we act in this way, that more people can participate, the more Sankirtan we do. And Prabhupada says here, and nothing more. We have to do nothing more than that. So how much Sankirtan are we doing every day? And now comes the interesting point. We are in the Hare Krishna movement, isn't it? We are the Sankirtan movement. Isn't it? We are called the Hare Krishna movement. It's called Sankirtan movement. Those who are doing and spreading Sankirtan. And I have to ask myself, how much Sankirtan am I doing every day? Actually. Could be more, I think. Is it enough? Is the Sankirtan I'm doing enough? Everyone should ask herself and himself, am I doing enough Sankirtan? Of course, because I'm in the temple and I'm cleaning the floor and of course I'm eating and I'm doing little Sankirtan. Yeah, I think we also, the members of the Hare Krishna movement, should do more Sankirtan actually. Chanting together. Chanting the holy name. And not just that, of course, this is the simple method, but also engaging. Engage yourself in Krishna consciousness. Also intellectually. Yesterday I read a nice verse, 66th verse of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, it's like the formula for happiness. There are a couple, this is connected with another verse, but anyways, I found this like the formula for happiness. And I like Bhagavad Gita because it has many like formulas and causalities and systems. It's a huge system. Bhagavad Gita is such a smart book. So the formula for happiness, Krishna explains in a negative way. How you will never become happy. So, and he says, you will not be happy if you are not peaceful. Shanti, the word is used, Shanti. If in your mind there is no peace, you will never be happy. And how, and what is the other cause for your mind not being peaceful? If your intelligence is not connected. It's not connected with Krishna. He says, if your intelligence is not connected with the spiritual, your mind will not be peaceful. And where is the question of happiness? Meaning what? If our mind is always engaged with material thoughts and distractions and fears and worries and this and that, this is not a peaceful mind. Peaceful mind means having a very, very, absorbed mind actually. And how to do that? If your intelligence is engaged. Because the mind is more or less the emotions. In the mind there is they are not the thoughts, so to say. There are thoughts, but it's not like the guided thoughts. There is the mind is kind of passive in one sense. The mind is more passive. And the intelligence, if you use this instrument of intelligence in an active way, you influence the mind and you can manipulate the mind. You can form the mind. And the mind is this subtle body consisting of the emotions and the feelings and all that. So with the intelligence you can reprogram yourself. Reprogram the mind. The mind is like a tape. Like before we had these audio tapes, right? And whatever the mind perceives is recorded. If you press record on this tape, there's a reflection of the recording, right? If there's a word, suddenly it's caught on the tape. And the mind is recording all these things by the conscious experience. And when we learn the art of Buddhi Yoga, the yoga of intelligence, we can very easily rewrite the tape. Because before you could do that, you take the tape and you put it in and you rewind and press record and you replay the tape, re-record it. Before you could do that, the same tape. So this is what we can do with the intelligence. When we take the intelligence and put it on Krishna. Or the consciousness, right? Also the consciousness. Put it on Krishna, we rewrite the tape. But it's interesting that Krishna says here, the intelligence is the factor. So meaning also to really think about Krishna. And this is what I did yesterday when I was sitting there and was thinking about this verse. This was this engage your intelligence and rewrite the tape. And influence the mind. And when I read this and was thinking about it and engaged my intelligence to understand what was meant there, in the end, what happened? What do you think?
It was peaceful.
No. Almost. You're almost there. According to the verse, what? What comes then after the peace? Happiness. I felt extremely happy. I thought, wow, this was such a nice session. I was sitting there maybe half an hour thinking about the verse and the purport, and half an hour I had time for preparing, and afterwards I thought, wow, I bathed my intelligence now in transcendental knowledge. My mind. I bathed my mind in transcendental knowledge, and it got washed off so many coverings, right? So it works when we engage our intelligence. So the Sankirtan Yagya, Sankirtan movement has many facets and many aspects, but still we should not miss the central activity, which means to chant together. But in one sense, what we are doing now is also Sankirtan, right? When we come together, we hear about Krishna. Okay, this is more a little bit technical. It was not so much about Krishna, but it's also together, hearing, chanting. Yeah. But still, the simple chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, we should always practice that as much as possible, actually. Yeah. So, with these words, I want to end. I don't want to speak too, of course, Prabhupada mentions the 11th canto and things like this, but this is the point, yeah, that the Sankirtan, as Prabhupada says, is the Yuga Dharma, is the Yagya, and you need nothing more than that. And we should do this as much as possible and find your connection to the Sankirtan Yagya, and happiness is unavoidable. Unavoidable. Because happiness is the nature of the soul. And all that what is not part of the soul, it will go away. It will go away when we engage in Sankirtan. And we become very happy. Very easy. It's very easy, we just have to do it. And we have so many excuses why not to do it. I have no time, I have to do this, I have to do that, this and that. So we have to make time. We can't, because time, interesting enough, time is relative, isn't it? Time is relative, meaning you can have way more time than you think. 1 minute can be extremely short. But 1 minute can also be extremely long. I experienced this sometimes on Sankirtan book distribution, that Krishna kind of stretches the time and it could achieve way more in a shorter time. Time is relative. Time is Krishna. So Krishna can facilitate if you have the desire. Because sometimes devotees come and say, I have no time. I have no time for reading. Then make time. And it works. Find time. Yeah. So, this is the point. We should engage in Sankirtan Yagya and we will become very happy, and we give this to others and they become very happy, and then we, this is the point. Sankirtan Yagya. Thank you so much. Any questions? Anything to add? Yes, Ramananda Gopal Bro.
I have no time.
Yes.
Because I have children.
Yes.
Because I think I pray to Krishna, please stretch the time.
But then
they say, they pray, no, compress the time. So their prayers are stronger.
I say that where there's a will, there's a way, and Krishna helps, and I think it's possible. It's a challenge.
Speak to you later.
Yes, I'm convinced. I'm convinced that if there is a strong desire and that we make a plan and if you really work on it, that we can make it. And I will prove it. I will make no excuses. Yeah. And we should think like that, actually. I really think we should think like that. That we have it's in our control, because then we would be helpless and we would submit to the situation. Of course, the situations, not just like that would explain in general, it's often difficult and challenging and so many excuses. But if we are serious, and if we are more serious, and if we challenge our seriousness and say, really, okay, I should be more serious, we can make it. We can make so many things happen. Prabhupada, of course, we say, Prabhupada, he's transcendental, but he could do so many things. Bhaktivinoda Thakur could do so many things. And we might not be able to found another Hare Krishna movement or be a Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but at least some room we can make for a reading of Bhagavatam a day. I also thought recently I'm not reading enough, so I was thinking, okay, every day I will read at least one verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Whatever verse it is, if there's a purport or not, I will read. And one verse from Bhagavad Gita. As a kind of, and I thought, because this is very easy, this takes 5 minutes. What's the problem? And I downloaded an app for this, like a habit tracker app, where I have to make a mark to help me a bit. And at first it's very easy, and second, I read way more. I read one and say, this was short, okay, I read another one. This was nice, I read another one. And I read way more than this one verse. But I said at least one verse. So I think this could help. For someone who has really no time to say, okay, I will make time to at least read one verse. I think it's possible. But thank you very much for the question. I know you asked it more for the other devotees who always say they have no time, so thank you for helping us to get more convinced. Yeah, it's very important to ask questions also for the others, like Arjuna. He knew all that, more or less, but he asked it for the others. Okay. Anyone else? Something? Yes, please.
As you mentioned that our material activities should be connected to the spiritual world. And I'm just wondering how Krishna consciousness, we devotees are happy here, we know how it functions and how it works on our daily life. But when we preach, how can we convince people that every aspect in their life is also plays a role in it? Because it's really hard to make them have the idea that they're connected to Krishna. And it is not only something religious.
Yeah, okay, thank you for the question. So, you speak about preaching, explaining to people. So at first this is a very big topic, yeah, but you have a specific question how to explain to the people that every aspect of their life can be connected to Krishna. It's not just a religion, but something spiritual, natural. Yeah, for this, actually it's very easy. It's very easy because it's not easy if we don't have a good understanding of Krishna consciousness, and especially not of Bhagavad Gita. Then we might think in this more, I wouldn't say black and white, but now I joined and I live only like a devotee, and that what before or the other things, they are not relevant. But you can cite the example of Arjuna. Arjuna wanted to do like that. He wanted to go away and have nothing to do with his job. Right? He wanted to quit. I know. Ich kündige. Then Krishna said, no, you cannot kündigen. You cannot give up your job. You have to work because it's your dharma. It's your nature. So we can tell people, if you have a certain nature, no problem, you can connect it. It's even in our book, in our holiest of books. Krishna says you cannot run away from your nature. Learn to do it for me. So in that sense, Krishna consciousness is a wonderful philosophy which is not fanatic. For those who want to be more determined, surrendered, exclusive, okay, there's a temple, there's like monastery, there's monk lifestyle or nun lifestyle, okay, of course, this must be there too. Or to take some time out, right? We don't have to communicate to everyone, you have to join, give up your job and family and everything. No, but we know at the same time that it's sometimes good to become aloof from the material situation, to focus more on Krishna. So we should sell them Krishna consciousness, explain to them, it's take a time out. Take a time out from all the stress. It's not that you have to always stay in a temple, become a brahmachari or brahmacharini. No, but it's good sometimes in life to go on a pilgrimage, go away from all that, focus on God, and then you continue your life. So this is one thing, and the other thing is to really understand there is a dharma, a material dharma, and which we cannot negate. And if you understand this, Varnashram Dharma, can explain to people very nicely. You have to understand where they are at and how can they then connect to Krishna. Right? So, yeah, it's our duty to be able to, but it's very individual and we have to understand the situation. There is no stereotype. There's no stereotype at all anyways. So we have to understand how Krishna consciousness works and how to communicate in an appropriate way. Thank you for the question. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Have a nice day in Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada ki. Nitai Gaur Premanande.